When is Jason Whitlock gonna let it go? He's still taking shots at Stephen A. Smith. But before we get off into the video, when you come across the video, do me a favor. Please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you got your post notifications on so you'll know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. And if this is your first time on the YouTube platform and you're coming across this channel, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it out, make sure you post a comment. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute, and you know what my mantra is. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. Well, guys, Jason Whitlock is still taking shots at Stephen A. Smith. But before we get off into this video is sponsored by SeatGeek.
SeatGeek, the official sponsor of Simply Ball Dropping Podcast, the #1 rated ticketing app, over 28 million downloads, 70,000 plus events from concerts to sports, all your tickets across the web, all in one place, rated 1 to 10. Green means good, red means bad, and all your tickets are backed by your buyer's guarantee. And remember, use my promo code SimplyBallDropping at checkout to get $20 off your purchase.
And just remember, by using my promo code SimplyBallDropping at checkout, you're getting yourself $20 off your purchase. Also know that you're supporting the channel. Now let's get right off into it, man. I produced the show last night and I had a couple comments come through on the show that I produced last night. And a lot of people wanted to know what my take was on Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith's latest rant. One of my viewers, BeNice777, I produced a video last night, a podcast, and I was talking about the Colorado Buffaloes football team. And BeNice commented. He says, speaking of Jason Whitlock, oh my bad, this wasn't about him. Don't know if you know that he went at your boy Stephen A. Smith again. Like to hear your take. I responded, got you covered. Another guy commented, Jason Whitlock is a failed football player who couldn't make it to the NFL, not worthy of a video. I certainly understand a lot of people come in the comment sections and say Jason Whitlock is not worthy of videos and worthy of your time. But I always give my viewers what they want. And if they want a take from me, I'm going to give them a take. So shout out to BeNice777 for posing this question and asking me what is my take on the latest Jason Whitlock going at Stephen A. Smith. Well, let's get right off into it. Well, you know, I covered a podcast months back about not Deion Sanders, but Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith going at it. And Jason Whitlock has done his homework and a lot of research on Stephen A. Smith's collegiate basketball career at Winston-Salem State. Basically, what Jason Whitlock is saying is Stephen A. Smith is lying about his scholarship to Winston-Salem State, where he had a tryout in front of Big House Games where he hit 17 straight three-pointers and they offered him a full ride right on spot. So Jason Whitlock has questioned everything about Stephen A. Smith's basketball playing days. Now, you know, Stephen A. Smith has went on record saying that he was offered a full ride after 17 straight threes. In one sense, he said before that he, cracked his kneecap and he didn't play no games. Then he went on a podcast before and said that he only played 1 or 2 games. So now I find it very intriguing that Jason Whitlock is still pointing this out because he wants answers. And if you notice on the latest rant that Jason Whitlock went on Stephen A. Smith about, and then Stephen A. Smith responded, but he did not address the thing that Jason Whitlock wants answers about, is his college playing days. What Stephen A. Smith did, he deflected and went on a hour rant about Jason Whitlock, but not addressing the main source and the main thing that Jason Whitlock has been alleviating to is about his playing days at Winston-Salem State. He does not have a definitive answer for Jason Whitlock. So what has happened now? Stephen A. Smith has gone on record and has been on ESPN really throwing shots at Zion Williamson from the New Orleans Pelicans, talking about he's out of shape, he's fat, all he does is eat, and he's picking fun at him, and he's fat shaming him. You know what he did to Jason Whitlock? He called Jason Whitlock a fat bastard. So basically, he's putting Zion Williamson in that category of a Jason Whitlock. And what has he done? He caused a stir. So what happened? The New Orleans Pelicans social media got wind of everything that Stephen A. Smith has said about their superstar down there in New Orleans and Zion Williamson, and they took to their Twitter X account and they posted a video of Stephen A. Smith shooting, missing shots, Stephen A. Smith throwing the first pitch out, Stephen A. Smith doing his boxing routine, and Stephen A. Smith at the All-Star when he slipped. So they poking fun at Stephen A. Smith, and what happened is Jason Whitlock saw that, and Jason Whitlock saying that he is causing Stephen A. Smith to break down right before our eyes. Now, I want y'all guys to take a listen to some of the things that Jason Whitlock said on his Fearless podcast. But if you want to listen to it, the entirety of it, go to Jason Whitlock's Fearless podcast and take a listen. But I'm just going to play you a little soundbite on some of the things that Jason Whitlock said. Take a listen.
On board with what we've been pointing out to you all, that Stephen A. Smith has been lying about his college basketball career. The thing that I pointed out is that he's lying about virtually everything. Virtually everything. It goes well beyond his basketball career. But I want to start showing you the receipts as we watch Stephen A. Smith melt down, break down, and lose his mind because he knows that everybody is laughing at him behind his back. And now when he gets in a confrontation with someone in the NBA, they bring it to the surface. They laugh at him out in front of everybody. Stephen A. Smith has been going at Zion Williamson, the star basketball player for the New Orleans Pelicans. And I want to show you the video that the Pelicans released mocking Stephen A. Smith for his trash talk he's been doing on Zion Williamson. And he's been doing a little fat shaming with Zion Williamson. And the Pelicans have finally had enough. And I believe it was Friday night, they released a video putting Stephen A. Smith on blast. Let's watch.
Now, see, you heard what Jason Whitlock said. Now, here it is. We got a lot to unpack. Now, when I first, covered the story and I looked at it, I'm saying Jason Whitlock is reaching. It's a lot of things that I disagree with Jason Whitlock on, but when I rewind the tape and do further research, I'm beginning to think that Jason Whitlock is on to something. I'm beginning to think that Jason Whitlock has done his homework enough and his due diligence to really hone in on this. And it's really making Stephen A. Smith look bad because of the fact that Stephen A. Smith will not address his playing days. The only thing he will say is, I cracked my kneecap in half. But what Jason Whitlock has done, and when I go back and look at the challenge flag, and I look at it in its entirety, I'm starting to believe what Jason Whitlock is saying here. Because like I said, in one sense, Stephen A. Smith has said several times that he didn't play at all. And then he said, he played, a couple games. Now reports come out that Stephen A. Smith said out of his own mouth that he had a full ride. He stayed on scholarship, but he was basically a practice player. And when I say a practice player, he's saying that he was not able to run up and down the court 2 or 3 times without noticeably limping and his knee bothering him, but he stayed on scholarship. And Jason Whitlock went as far as saying, what D1 athlete, D2 athlete, or D3 athlete, when you're injured and you can't participate and you can't play ball, who stays on scholarship? He has pointed that out. Now also, Jason Whitlock has went and pulled up the 1991 stat sheet of Stephen A. Smith. And this is what we have in question. On this stat sheet, there's a guy by the name of Stephen Smith. And it says games played 9. So this is what we have a discrepancy on of Stephen A. Smith. It shows that he's played 9 games in the 1991 statistics. And Stephen A. Smith cannot answer who's this Stephen Smith on this roster that's played 9 games. So Jason Whitlock is basically saying, make it make sense. He's saying that Stephen A. Smith is lying outright. And now I'm starting to believe some of the things that Jason Whitlock is saying about Stephen A. Smith. He has said a lot about Stephen A. Smith, said he's uninformed. He knows nothing about sports. He's jealous now because of Shannon Sharpe's position. He's the monster in sports media now. And what Stephen A. Smith is doing now, he's saying that I've been number 1. Jason Whitlock has discredited that and said he was competing against an upstart FS1, old guy in Skip Bayless. And in one sense, Jason Whitlock was bigging up Shannon Sharpe, and then he took a little, a dig at him, thinking that he would implode himself on some of the interviews that he's doing on Club Shay Shay. Also, he took a dig at, Skip Bayless. He tried to defend him before, but now he took a dig at him, talking about an old, washed-up 70-year-old. But this situation with Stephen A. Smith's collegiate basketball career, I'm starting to think Jason Whitlock is not lying, because Stephen A. Smith can't address that. And then he goes on his podcast, Stephen A. Smith goes on his podcast to say, who gives a bleep? Y'all can troll me all you want. I'm built for it. But Jason Whitlock says that he is slowly breaking Stephen A. Smith down, and he's melting right in front of our eyes. I mean, to look at it and all the evidence that Jason Whitlock has shared with us, I'm starting to believe what Jason Whitlock is saying. Then Jason Whitlock pulls this out. The Straight Shooter, the memoir, he calls it Stephen A. Myth. He's saying that everything in that memoir is a farce, that Stephen A. Smith is lying in that memoir. And Stephen A. Smith will not address the things that Jason Whitlock is saying. So like I said, I disagree with a lot of things that Jason Whitlock has said in the past, the way he has slandered Deion Sanders. But this is very intriguing with him and Stephen A. Smith. I'm starting to believe what Jason Whitlock has presented to us along the lines of what Stephen A. Smith's collegiate basketball career really looks like. And then he went on as far as to say that he think Winston-Salem State is in on this just for publicity, that's crazy. That is crazy. But y'all guys let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think that Jason Whitlock is lying? Or do y'all believe Jason Whitlock? And shout out to Be Nice 777 for the insight. This is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.